Most clients I meet, when I ask them what do they want, they don't know. That's a very scary question. It's a very overwhelming question. But what they usually do know is what they don't want.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Ray Allen.
On this episode of the Marketing Expedition Podcast, we get to speak with Jenny Calcoen. She's an internationally recognized mentor, speaker, and author, and is the CEO and founder of Inner Earthquake, a boutique consulting and coaching practice dedicated to empowering women. After a successful 26-year corporate career in senior leadership, Calcoen now mentors, coaches, and teaches women philanthropists, executives, and entrepreneurs to step into a bigger version of themselves and to be unshakable no matter what happens in life. And we're going to talk all about how she does what she does and how she markets her business and all the types of people that she works with. I mean, she works with people whose net worth is like 30 million plus, and she's just got some great nuggets for us to listen to. So let's get into that. But first, it's time for your Marketing Essentials moment, the basics that you need to help you continue to build your brand and your bottom line. Okay, last episode, we talked about the media plan in your advertising and marketing strategy and plan and all the things that we've been talking about. And so now we're going to take it a step further and talk about implementing the plan and the decisions that you're making about your media mix, the timing, what your restrictions are with your budget, or, wouldn't it be great if we had unlimited budget? That would be amazing, but, we don't. This is the real world, right? But the media mix decision involves choosing those best combinations of the media that you're using, the ads that you've created, that to then achieve the goals that we set out to achieve in the overall plan and the campaign, right? And this can be tricky to make sure you're getting it right and understanding that sometimes testing is your best friend in what is assumed, right? We make assumptions based on all of the primary and secondary research that we've done, all of the surveying and understanding and testing the ads and doing all the things, but we still need to understand if it's working or not and why, if it's not, and what we can do to mix it up more if we need to, right? So selecting the mix that optimizes the reach, the frequency, the continuity, the budget. And really, there's just a lot of intuition and data that can go into this, understanding the programmatic ads that you want to place and where you want them to be and who your audience is and how they're going to resonate the most across all the different types of advertising media that you are going to do. So we use some tools like Nielsen ratings to measure the audience based on viewers, and there's all kinds of different tools that we use, right? Understanding, if it's billboards and traffic count, and if it's radio, it's, day part traffic, how many people are listening and what types of people are listening. And now we have all these, smart devices in our vehicles, and we do streaming with Spotify and Pandora and iHeartRadio and all the different places that we can put ads, and thinking about the timing and the amount of exposure we need and estimating based on the counts and the numbers and the data that we are seeking and continuously gaining insights and trends that are continuously happening and all of those things, right? If it's outdoor poster locations or, the placement of traffic and where people are going, foot traffic versus vehicle traffic versus airline traffic. I mean, there's so many different opportunities here to be able to put your messages and, so thinking about all of those things that are going to come up in your media plan and how you're going to select them and how you're going to get them scheduled and trafficked out so Traffic Manager can get them all to where they need to go and the sizes and specifications and positions of placements and all of those things, right? And thinking about how you're going to have, if it's going to be continuously running, ads run steady at a given level indefinitely or within your budget or timeline, right? And this can, if it's something that you need it to continuously run, maybe it's a fourth quarter ad for Christmas and you're going to want to continuously run it. And maybe it's, Black Friday through, Christmas Eve, right? Or if you're going to do the flighting, we talked a little bit about this last time. If you're going to create flights where it's on again, off again, and then that way you can involve heavy spurts of advertising. I always liken it to if you have a cap full of bleach and you want to clean a dog dish, a small dog dish, a bowl, versus a big giant swimming pool. And you take this cap full of bleach, and if you were to pour it into the dog dish, it might be highly effective and concentrated within a specific little short, area that it can concentrate and clean, versus if you take that same cap full of bleach and then put it into a big giant swimming pool, it's going to get diluted and spread thin, and it's not going to be effective at all because it's just been so spread thin that it's not even going to make an impact at all in the big giant pool, right? Versus a small concentrated reach and frequency area like in the dog dish that you want to clean. So flighting involves that heavy spurts of advertising followed by periods of no advertising, and then doing it again, and then having that reach and frequency in a specific short stint so that way it's more impactful, more effective. This can happen for seasonality types of businesses, or if it's an event that you're promoting. Sometimes people want to do save the dates right up front, get the date out there, let people know about an event coming up, and then maybe you're going to pause it for a little bit, and then you're going to just bring it on and have that heavy spur of advertising leading up to the event, right? Because a lot of people are always last minute, and if you want to promote an event, you need to do it in the moment when people are making their decisions, especially if it's like a weekend event. They're going to make their decisions a couple days before the weekend and then buy their tickets to that event. Inevitably, it always happens right at the last minute. But those people who are early birds want to know the date and time and information early on so they get the date on their calendar, and then they can, carry on with their day. Then pulsing mixes continuous scheduling with flighting. So you've got a combination of how you're going to have this media get out in the world to create that constant drumbeat of ads with periods of greater intensity. This approach really helps with products or services where there's a year-round appeal, but there may be some seasonality or periods of greater demand and intensity. Things like hotels and airlines or travel or, holidays and things like that can increase the advertising presence during that holiday season, right? So pulsing can also be a beneficial tactic to take in your media plan. All right, let's get into the interview, and we will talk more next time about budgeting, because this is such a crucial topic, right? It's cash flow, it's budgeting, it's how much do you need to spend on your advertising? I always get asked that all the time. What should I be spending, Ray? How much should I spend? And we're going to talk a lot about that and what impact and things that you can do to derive the budget that you need to spend in order to reach the goals. So there's some things that we do, some tools that we use, and I'll talk about that next time. Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today's guest, we have Jenny Calcoen. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Thanks for having me.
And so, Jenny, I always just like to tell people a little bit more than what's in your bio. Give us a background and a history of you and how you got to where you are now.
Right. Well, I was born and raised in Belgium. You probably hear that in my accent. And then when I was 22, I moved around. I started moving around, and I lived in different European countries while building my corporate career. So I was in different industries, and the last part of my career was in asset management and finance, and I was the head of a single family office. So that brings us to 9 years ago, where I moved from Europe and left a corporate career behind and became an entrepreneur and the owner and CEO of Inner Earthquake in Southern California.
So I have to ask, did the name of your company have any correlation with the location of where you are?
Actually, it didn't. People always assume that it does, but it didn't at all. It was because I was trying to describe circumstances that cause an inner earthquake. And I thought, wait, I can actually just say inner earthquake. It doesn't really matter what caused the effect on the inside. It's
Mm-hmm.
what it causes is an inner earthquake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so share a little bit more about what it is that you do with your clients now and what causes that inner earthquake to happen.
Yeah, so the inner earthquake is really any major life event that happens that it causes you to, I'm sorry, brain fog. So I've
I
been dealing
understand.
with that today as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just causes it attacks your sense of identity, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and so it can be caused by a divorce, by a career change, by menopause, by
Mm.
kids leaving the house. So it's anything that just contributes to like my identity was tied up in this, and now that I'm no longer fill in the blank, could be a
Mm-hmm.
wife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who am I? And so the work that I do is I work with high impact, sometimes public profile philanthropists and entrepreneurs, and all my clients are women.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really am a guide on the side as they walk through this new landscape and are looking at what is next. I'm the trusted confidant. I'm the safe space that they can come um, to experiment really with new ways of being. So that's it in a nutshell.
So walk me through when a client comes to you, what's your process? What do you do with them to kind of reveal the new identity, if you will, of what they're about to become? Like what kind of things do you process, or what's your framework of is working with people?
Yeah, so I have the framework, which is called Vibrantly Alive. And really, what we do, we always work together for at least 6 months. But what we do within that framework is we just go back to basics. And what do I mean by that is most of us live in our head, spend most of our time in our head and with our brain and thinking. And so when something really dramatic happens, really something major happens, we are, whether we want to or not, we're propelled into reality and into the present moment. And that can be very upsetting and uncomfortable. Uh, and what you're trying to do, the loop that we kind of go into is we try and figure out the puzzle. Like, I can figure out this problem, but these are not things that are figure outable in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what really happens is we become aware of the present moment, and that happens in our body. And that can be very scary because all of a sudden we're feeling all the feelings. We're feeling anger, we're feeling sadness, whatever it might be. And it's very overwhelming because most of us don't come equipped or are taught the tools to deal with our emotions, really. And so it can be very scary and very overwhelming. So that is the first thing that we do is we work on feeling the feelings without feeling like, there's a metaphorical death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though this might be the end of something, it's what we're working towards is it's the beginning of something new. And then where we go from there, so I have a framework, but it is not linear. So my programs are bespoke for every client. And I meet my clients where they are. So they really are the guides as to where they want to go. And most clients I meet, when I ask them what do they want, they don't know. That's a very scary question. It's a very overwhelming question. But what they usually do know is what they don't want. Um,
Right.
and sometimes it comes down to a very simple question, which is, do you want to be feeling or do you want to be in the same place a year from now? And when that answer is no and maybe hell no, um, then we're on the right path. And it's like, okay, well, let's play with this. You are in a safe and confidential space, and let's experiment with these new ways of being. This is the place that you come to, that you put your slippers on, put your feet up, and you can be all of you. You don't have to keep up that public persona. and let's
Mhm.
delve in. Let's delve in into what you want this next chapter to look like.
Can you share, without sharing names, because we don't want to do that, but can you share some maybe success stories or, people that you've worked with that, they've been with you for 6 months or more, kind of the process that they went through, where they landed, what kind of things happened as a result?
Yeah, so one client, and I'll call her Monica, um, came to me. She was an entrepreneur, had had her own business for over 20 years, had sort of been in a space of like, well, life is good. I don't really have anything to complain about, but life is a little bit meh, you know.
Yeah.
And then her mother died, and that really turned her entire world upside down. And she started looking at, in our work together, we looked at, well, what brings you joy? And to her great surprise, and it was a painful revelation to her that
Mhm.
her business no longer brought her joy.
Hmm.
And so I'll fast forward. About 10 months later, she was traveling around the world on a round the world ticket and decided that she was going to sell her company. So she sold her company and enrolled in a chef program. So she's now in full-time school becoming a chef, and it
Wow.
was the thing that she had always wanted to do. She was very interested in food, and this was the catalyst. Her mother dying was sort of like the final drop in the bucket, where she said, I can no longer live this life, and I'm going to do, life is short, and I'm going to do what I've
Right.
always wanted to do. And this is what she's doing. Neither of us anticipated that. She certainly didn't think that this is what was going to happen, but that's where she landed, and that's the new adventure that she's on.
Wow. So she did a complete, like,
Like,
180 career change and
yes,
lifestyle
yes,
change. That's amazing.
yes, completely.
Do you have any others to share? This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's well, another client, let's call her Julia. Julia was married for 18 years, and then was um, part of a divorce that she initially didn't choose. And so when she came to me, she was really in a space of, I was part for 18 years of a we, and I'm not sure who me is anymore. And so there was nothing spectacular on the outside that happened for her, but it was in our work together. We worked on, okay, so now you get to choose the life, that you want. And what is that going to be? And she did not change career. In fact, she got a promotion.
Oh,
But it
nice.
was it was mostly people around her who started saying, you are completely different. What are you doing? Like, what are you eating? What's your skincare regimen? Because you look great. You are like a completely different person. And that was her really reconnecting with herself after being
Yeah.
part of a we for 18 years. She became me for the first
Mhm.
time, in her words, for the first time in her life. So
Wow.
that was pretty amazing to watch that.
Yeah. Well, that sounds I love the transformations that, you
Mm.
get to work with people to do, and I think that that helps, from a marketing perspective to be able to share these stories and tell others, and then, word of mouth referral and all of those things. But as we go on a marketing journey, let's dig in a little bit more about how you come to find the people that you are, motivated and inspired to work with. What are some tactics that you take that allow you that ability to get to work with some of these people?
Well, it's my business model is perhaps more unusual in that I work with clients one on one. So my business is not one to many, but it's one on one. And I am very grateful, and I feel very privileged that I have that business. And so my business comes through personal referrals.
Mhm.
So I have some referral partners who are therapists, wealth
Mm-hmm.
managers, family offices, and just clients who are happy and refer me. So I am in a very privileged position that way, because that is certainly what people hope to build a business on. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's mainly what I do.
And I love how you described that you have a bespoke
Mm.
offering, right? And
Yeah,
how the word bespoke itself just sort of elevates the mind already, in that it's customized, it's tailored to them, right? It's a term that's also used in tailoring and
yes,
clothing, right? It's a
that's
bespoke
right.
custom suit, or a bespoke line of fashion, right?
That's
and
right.
and and I think that transferring that and using that in your world, from a marketing messaging perspective, I think that definitely can help people understand that you tailor exactly what they need when they need it, and you meet your clients where they're at.
Yeah.
And I think using those types of terms help with being able to differentiate yourself from others,
Mhm.
and knowing that being able to help people in a way that is customized to them, and it's not a one size fits all, right?
Right.
And the one to one versus one to many, I think that's
Mhm.
great. And now a message about one of our sponsors, Nadine West, which is awesome, affordable outfits that are delivered to your doorstep each month, or however often you want it delivered. And each month features surprising new outfits that consist of items perfectly styled just for you. And you only keep what you love and then send the rest back free of charge. I absolutely love it. The things that they send me, I often keep more than not. And so for our listeners, if you sign up today using my link, you'll get $10 credit and free shipping on your first order. So go to peppershock.com/offers and sign up for Nadine West and get your $10 credit. I know you're going to love what Nadine West sends to you. I even get a personal message from her asking how everything's going. Anyway, so go to peppershock.com/offers and sign up for Nadine West. So tell me more about kind of the ideal customer that you enjoy working with the most. What's your soulmate client?
My soulmate client is a woman in midlife, because the research tells us that by the time we reach 50, half of us have gone through 5 or more of these major life events. And so that has nothing to do with life, right? Life will do its thing and things happen in life.
Right.
But what happens specifically with women is that we internalize the message of we just got to power through. We've got to, white knuckle it and power through, and we can't let everybody down. So we sort of carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. And eventually, especially when there's like serious life events going on,
Mm-hmm.
eventually we just can't put that away anymore and ignore it. It's just not mentally healthy, emotionally, psychologically, and eventually there will be something that just takes us down.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is I was speaking with a client yesterday, and she told me, she's like, when I hear you talk about that statistic, she's like, I never really sort of imagined that that was me. She said, but then I started counting, and she said, I realized that I never really categorized major things that have happened in my life as major life events.
Yeah.
So my soulmate client, is a woman in midlife in exactly that space.
Mm-hmm.
She has probably worked with a therapist or is still working with a therapist. And she's now looking at what's next, and she really doesn't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my clients are women philanthropists and
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. So very often they are surrounded. They are surrounded by people, but people that are yes people. So they are looking for someone where they can be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There is often a confidentiality issue, so they really need to make sure that they're dealing with someone that they know knows how to handle clients like this. So some of my clients require me to sign NDAs. Um, so my role is really as a trusted confidant, and that is, I would say, the most important thing to my clients. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of people in your demographic that, I mean, especially they always say, you know, the entrepreneur life is a lonely life up at the top sometimes, and
Right.
they don't
That's right.
always have people that they can lean on and rely on and share and tell the things that they otherwise aren't telling their employees, or, you know, sometimes it's the employees that they need to talk about too.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. These are high impact women. So
Mhm.
they're doing important things in the world, and whether or not they have a public profile, there's usually very few people around them. Even sometimes friends and family, well-meaning as they may be, are sometimes not helpful in those situations. I know that from personal experience as well. Well-meaning, and yet sometimes it's easier to be in a neutral space with someone who is really in your corner and doesn't have
Mhm.
their own agenda. They're really there for you. Um,
Mhm. Oh,
yeah.
that's great. Okay, what has been your biggest surprise in the last few months? When I say that, what surprised you?
Oh, that's an interesting question. What surprised me?
Aside from the chef becoming a chef, I
Yes,
think that's a
yes,
big surprise, but
right. I I am always surprised at how resilient women actually are,
Mm,
how
mhm,
resilient we actually are. Um, when I meet my clients, very often they will have language that they would never use with a friend or even a
mm,
stranger, but that they use on themselves, which
mm,
is they're not being very kind with
mm,
themselves.
mhm,
And then when we delve in, it actually turns out that, I will illustrate, like, but you're looking at the road ahead and it might look like you're climbing Mount Everest, but look behind you and look at what you have achieved, like just sometimes even in the last 6 months or the last year, and look at how resilient you are. So you are telling yourself that you're not, but actually you've proven otherwise. And um, that is then a surprise to them very often. That's a revelation to them. And so it surprises me every time a woman walks in um, being unkind to herself
mm.
when we actually go through it. It's really a detrimental message, and it's a negative spiral that people get into. So it's lovely to see them get out of that spiral.
Yeah, the negative self-talk. Oh, that
Yeah.
is definitely widely common,
Hmm.
but not talked about a lot,
That's
right?
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We all have, inner judges, sometimes, more than one. I call my inner judge, Judge Judy, because, you know,
Yeah.
and and so what we work on is not necessarily to get rid of those inner voices, but at least to turn the volume down. At the very, very least, that is something that we can do very quickly, is turn that volume down.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. I do a talk about creating with confidence,
Mm.
and a lot of times people, they're not so confident about the work that they've created, if they're artists or creatives, or, you know, or even not. I mean, people have to be creative no matter who you are, no matter what industry
Yeah.
you're in, right? There's still some sense of creativity that needs to be deployed in your brain, and that is the number one thing is fear, right? People are afraid of what other people might think, or afraid to make risks or take risks, and you know, unwilling to want to endure the feedback that they may or may not have in their
Mhm.
minds, right? That they're just building it up to, you know, kind of set them, or, you know, keep them from moving on to being able to do something even more creative.
Mhm. Yeah, and I would say the thing about self-confidence is that, we live in a world that cultivates that exact thing that you were describing. So we're looking for outward validation, right? We live in a world that says, your only value is, what job title you have, or money in the bank, or the house you live in, the car you drive, the holidays you take. And that is simply not true. So when we go through an identity crisis of sort, we're trying to reference the world around us again and looking for input from the world around us. And what I work with my clients on is exactly the opposite. Self-confidence comes from the inside out. We
Mm-hmm.
we are who we are first, and from that flow our actions, right? So we be who we be, and out of that comes our doing, right? It's not the other way
Yeah.
around. It's not we do first and that determines who we are. That's just not
Mm-hmm.
true, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a key thing to understand about self-confidence. It's from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're constantly telling yourself in your mind that you're not good at what you're doing, or that you are, oh, you just don't have enough experience, or you don't have the skill, or any of those things that are going to negate what is going to then fully allow your full potential, then you're stuck. In getting out of that headspace is a big thing to overcome for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you're there to do it.
Me too.
So, how can people reach out to you, Jenny? What, this is your opportunity to share and market your business. But how can they reach out to you? And is there any thing that they need to know when they do?
They can reach out to me to my website, which is my name, jennycalcoen.com. They can reach out through LinkedIn, and they can reach me directly if they want to have a conversation or they have something they want to discuss. They can reach out directly at my email address, which is hello@innerearthquake.com.
Excellent, and it's a great name, by the way. I think it's very memorable from a marketing perspective. Good job.
It is. It is. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, Jenny, anything else that you'd like to share that I hadn't already had you share? Just some final thoughts that you'd like to give our audience.
Yeah, I would say that no matter what is going on in life, you can trust yourself. It's maybe a little voice, but there is that voice inside you that when you want to say you don't know, you actually do know. And so I would say, especially to women, trust yourself, trust that inner voice. And that's really important.
Excellent, Jenny. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And for those of you listening right now, the best thing that you can do for Jenny and I is share this with others that you know that need to hear what Jenny had to say today. And then, of course, always the reviews are wonderful, and we always like to do shout outs to those who give us those reviews. So thank you for that. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your marketing journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.